Good afternoon. 58 years ago, I stood not far from here, representing a man who was a dreamer, who dreamt of a beloved community. And I speak of none other than the late Dr. Martin Luther King during the sanitation strike that brought him here to Memphis. I saw firsthand and got the vibes through him that progress is not a gift. It's a hard-fought battle, a constant battle. Today we stand on the holiday named after Dr. King in his honor. But I'm not here to give a speech. I'm here to issue a call to courage. We cannot celebrate the dreamer while the dream itself is being dismantled before our very eyes. We're at a critical crossroad in 2026. We see the shadows of the past hovering over us, constantly threatening and daring us to step forward. We see systemic efforts to curb the right to vote, the very instrument of liberation as Dr. King saw it. We see the erosion of the judicial system, judicial oversight, gutting the rights of civil protection that we cherish. We see the elimination of programs meant to level the playing field, to try to give everybody an equal shot at progress. I spent my life arguing that law must protect the weak from the whims of the powerful. I did that while serving with the first integrated law firm here in this section of the country. I did that while serving as a board member, the national board member of the American Civil Liberties Union that cherishes and still does and protects the rights of liberty and freedom, such as the NAACP. In Tennessee versus Ghana, I championed that case. There was a fight against injustices by law enforcement that was so sorely needed then and still do, even more so now it appears. That was the period in which injustices was abound. The value of property was put over the value of a human life against people who fled from or were suspects fleeing from crimes, until we took that case to the United States Supreme Court under my leadership and got the Fourth Amendment changed, where the Supreme Court stepped in and put safeguards and ground rules on the right to address suspects under the Fourth Amendment. We see those being dismantled at the moment with the immigration process that our president has implemented, trampling on civil rights. The greatest threat we see today is not the presence of injustices. It is the silence of the good people. It's the silence of good people that suggest complicity and approval of injustices. You know, I'm gonna tell you a personal story. I went to Germany at one time after I got out of college. I was so deep into German history to how good people could let such atrocities and evil flourish in Germany. I went to Berlin to see the Brandenburg Bridge, to see who are these German people, how our people can be so good, people can become so evil. And good people have to be made conscious that that poison of injustice and complacency in the face of injustices is infectious. I'm calling on every citizen in our community, every citizen in this nation, Do not be silent. Do not just yawn and say, well, it's not bothering me, or I'm afraid, or I don't want to get involved. But become an advocate for justice. Speak up. Challenge the rhetoric of division whenever you hear it. Protection of the gains that we achieved require the same fire and passion that we had in the 60s. To the young people, when I was a student, when I first marched with Dr. King as a lawyer, it was your turn to speak out courageously. Stand up and wave your fist at injustices. Show that you are determined that democracy will flourish, that it's not going to continue to be rolled back. Dr. King once said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. This is our time of challenge. Let history record that in 2026, we did not falter, but we stood tall, we stood up, we shook our fists at injustices. We spoke up. We protected the rights of progress that King took that bullet in the neck to promote. Let not his blood be shed in vain. King could have stayed in Georgia. He didn't have to come to Memphis and join the sanitation movement. He could have made every kind of excuse. He could have said, oh, that's up in Memphis, I ain't got time for that. But King said, no, hell no. What's happening in Georgia with injustices and the cruelty happens to me. When we see injustices abroad, when we see people being slaughtered in other nations by our bombs, through our militaries, and through the cruelty and injustices of other nations, instead of us being silent, speak up. Show your voice. Let history not say, where were you when injustices prevailed? Stand up. That's what Dr. King's Day mean to me. That's what I urge all of you to let it mean to you. Thank you very much.
Commissioner, what do you think of the legal challenges now that are underway in the courts? Do they make a difference?
They make a hell of a difference. The challenges we face now is the dismantling of the Fourth Amendment. We see the Fourth Amendment being disregarded and being misinterpreted and the failure to have it applied. Every person who has the credentials or the position of being able to challenge the injustices we see inflicted and imposed on those others, we need to stand up and show that we're not going to tolerate it. The dismantling of the rights of a few folks that are not related to us, that we don't know, strangers, will enable those who perpetrate those injustices to inflict those injustices on us. It's brown-skinned people, as an example, where we see injustices being widespreadly inflicted. Today it could be, tomorrow it may be blacks, and the next day it may be whites. That's what the tyrannical power will do. It has no limits. It's insatiable in terms of its appetite. And when it sees weakness festering, it sees that as a license to further prey upon that weak. I have here a picture of Dr. King when he was in the hotel in Memphis. And I shared that room with. I went and met him in that room to discuss his legal rights regarding the injunction that the city had sought to impose on him. Now we'll forget this photograph. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And let me say one final thing. I almost forgot. You know, coming from the movement, I'm so embedded and so thoroughly, should I say, passionately committed to fighting injustices that I can't sit silently by. That's why I'm having this press conference today. I want to urge and encourage and call to arms, that is. I want everybody to stand flat-footed and fight for justice. It's so sorely needed now, more than ever. We see segregation of our schools now being promoted. Even more so now, we see in our own area, we see suburban schools being set aside against the city of Memphis schools. We see that back in 2014, we saw the separation where we had all of the school districts together. The legislature saw fit to enable those who don't want their children to go to be segregated, saw them in the municipalities pass legislation, special legislation, to enable them to have their own school district. So that's why we now have 7 school districts, six outside of Memphis. They succeeded. That's what they did. Just like the South wanted to succeed for the Union. They succeeded. From the school system, the municipalities did. They said, we don't want our kids to be over there with those black kids. That's the bottom line, those black underprivileged kids. We don't want our kids mixed with them. And the Supreme Court is telling you if you're in the same school district, you gotta find measures to make everybody equal. You can't promote segregation. So that enabled these kind of school districts to go on their own and break away and got special legislation passed in 2014. Special legislation so that they could have separate school districts. I think there's one school district only had one school existing now, so that they wouldn't be included with the Memphis school kids. They don't want to be with those kids. That's what Dr. King meant. That's what Dr. King fought against. That's what Dr. King stood for. Thank you very much.
Mr. Bailey?
Sure.
What's your response to the fact that about 12 people died in jail last year in this building that's named after you?
Well, that means that there was some, I see it primarily, and I have a lot of respect for Sheriff Bonner. He's a committed man, and he has been one of the main issues that he deems is lack of proper funding. And that could be an issue, but I really haven't, I don't know, I can't give you the rationale or the cause or the raison d'etre, as we say in law, to how that happened. But I speculate that it probably hinges around funding in some sort of way. Any other questions?